What's up, guys? It's your boy Bando back. I got JL with me and Jimmy with me, and today we're starting the Kawasaki 454 rebuild from 1986. So this is what the bike looks like now.
Seats off.
Seats off. It's over there. And this is what the bike's gonna look like, hopefully somewhat like this when it's done. Because this is this is
thing one.
This is the first rebuild. This is his.
Yeah.
And this is what it does.
Nice.
Yeah. So this is what it's gonna look like when it's done. Sort of. Not gonna redo the whole thing, but just this is like what we did with this one. So pretty much today what we're gonna do is, actually the only things I've done to the bike so far is put a new battery in it, although the battery was working fine. And I rebuilt the carburetors, took this off. The engine, unfortunately, has a head gasket leak because it's leaking antifreeze right over here.
For another day.
Yeah, this is for another day. Gonna do spark plugs. We're gonna do, obviously we got the battery in there. The carburetors are rebuilt. Gonna get new air filters in here. The gas tank's actually in pretty good shape, luckily. I mean, the graphics fine on here. The graphics just faded here and over here. And yeah, it actually has the gas cap, which we found out unfortunately for Jimmy's bike, because over here we have the Chinese knockoff gas cap, the square peg and a round hole. It would cost like $160 for that gas cap with the lock. So thankfully we got this all together. It's clean inside, everything's good. And everything so far it works, but we got just some odds and ends we're gonna do today. We're gonna paint
Plastics all
these plastics because they're all sun faded.
Yeah, you can see why the graphic on this side has been, when you look at the two different sides together. This side it clearly faced the sun, and the bike was unfortunately stored.
And you could see, here as well. I tried to find a new coolant reservoir tank. Unfortunately, I cannot find one of these at all anywhere. So the guy JB welded it together to keep it from leaking. I did get a new cap, a new seal up here, and I'm gonna pull the tank off and clean it to try to reuse it. And then we gotta somehow get this off, the radiator cover guard, but this screw is completely stripped out here. So we're gonna have to drill it out to get that out of here so we can repaint it. But this is the start of it. So this is what it's gonna look like. So we're gonna come back and we'll show you guys little odds and ends and what things are gonna be like as we go along. So
let's get started.
Stay tuned. All right, so the first step we're gonna do here is we're gonna Rust-Oleum these sun-faded plastic pieces because we figured that'd be the easiest to do first.
2X Ultra cover by Rust-Oleum is fantastic. I call it powder coat in a can. This stuff seriously takes a beating and it never chips for the most part, within reason. It doesn't chip, it doesn't sun fade, so that's why we're using it here.
Yeah, so we're gonna hit it with this. Go back and forth. We still can't get the radiator guard off yet, so we're just gonna do these for now, just to give them all a nice coat. And then I decided to do the air box. As you can see here, it's all sun faded from where the 454 silver covers I have did not cover the box up. So I went ahead and taped off all the enclosures to hit it, so it doesn't get anything inside the air box. We're just gonna lay it on light and layer it up, and we're gonna put some clear coat over the top of them when we're done. Hopefully this will help improve the way it looks on the bike, because it's not gonna look as sun faded and white and black and shitty anymore, hopefully, when it's done. But we're not gonna actually touch like the OEM stuff, like the fender and the actual gas tank. We're just gonna leave alone because I don't wanna mess with the clear coat or anything on that anyway. We also got one of these grip things on the can here, and it'll help hold it up, so it's not, you're not having to keep pressing with your index finger. And usually you get kind of fatigued. And JL even popped it on there, and he's just like, dude, this is freaking great.
It's like a professional spray gun in your shop.
Yeah.
Granted, it's always going to be better than a rattle can. You can actually get pretty decent results out of rattle cans these days. Like I said, I'm a big fan of this ultra cover stuff. Does a pretty good job for what we're doing here. I think that's probably good for a first coat on those.
Yeah.
Let me hit this air box. Also worth noting, if you don't want to get this guy, the Rust-Oleum Ultra Cover does have a way more comfortable tip than your normal little like pin type ones that you have to touch down on. So don't necessarily need this, but definitely makes things easier if you're doing long paint jobs.
Yeah. And it was a whole $5 at Walmart, so I mean,
Hard to beat that.
yeah, look at that. I just covered that right up. We're not even really hitting it hard either. So
No.
that's really good.
Yeah,
And then once we layer it up, you can kind of see a little bit where it's.
Knock at the camera.
You can see a little bit there. It's kind of, you still see a little bit of, but we're gonna go nice light coats, and we're gonna layer it up for 3 or 4 coats on it. And
I mean, if you're in a hurry and you're doing basic touch-up stuff, you can even actually go decently thick with this. I use this for my job painting Unistrut, and I'm notorious for being too lazy to do a ton of coats, so I will just one coat wander those things, and it's amazing. We run the Unistrut with an impact driver, and it doesn't, the nuts spinning against the Unistrut doesn't chip this stuff away. So.
all right, cool. So we'll wait. We're gonna keep cracking at it a little bit by little bit, and also Jail's tooling around with his new toy, his little welder that he bought.
Flux 125.
So he's just practicing some basic stuff just to see what it'll do. So
We're
we're not gonna
break
need
in the feed mechanism on it from what I read online. So just kind of running a ton of cable through it and
yeah, we're not gonna
having
use it for
some
the
fun burning through.
Yeah, just scrap old iron that we're just testing it out on. So, but you can see here we also pulled out the air box. Obviously, you saw they're getting painted. Carburetors are gone, out of the way. So we're just gonna kind of brush this up a little bit and clean it up. Just get some of this grime out of the engine here and see if we can clean it up a little bit here and there while we're waiting for those coats to dry. We're also I'm gonna replace the starter motor because the starter motor is a little weak. The cables here look really good though, in good condition, and you can see the starter solenoid says seen better days. So we're gonna also replace this guy in here too. I might, if I could figure out how to pull this battery box out, I'd like to get that out of there, but we'll see if I can get that out of there now. Maybe we can, give it a nice touch up. Because the rest of it's got a little bit of rust, but this thing is rusted as shit. So we're gonna see if we can pull that out. All right, we'll be back in a little bit then. All right, guys, so I'm back here making a quick video on the bike progress. So as you can see behind me, this is the radiator guard. We finally got off the bike, and you notice down here, it's just this fucking bolt didn't want to come out. So unfortunately, that was stuck. But as you see, the bike is just ripped to shreds right now for the most part. JL was screwing around with his welder, which was kind of cool. Let's see, here's all the pieces right here. That's just a mess. You see the fenders here, the airbox, one side cover, one side cover. Go back over to the bike over here. You see 90, or not 90%, I'm like at least 25 or 30% of the bike is missing now. At least. So I removed the battery. I'm gonna see if I can't really pull. I might pull this battery box out, but that's where those bolts were. I was trying to remember where they went, the battery box. I was trying to get this thing out of here, but it's the piece of steel here. Well, actually, there's 2 bolts down there. It might separate. They're back here though. I'm gonna try to pull this battery box out and see if I can repaint that battery box. As you can see, it's all rusted and worn out. So I was gonna hit it with a touch of paint, get that taken care of. Airbox is out, carburetors are out. Carburetors are good so far, so hopefully that'll stay that way. I just covered all the ends in masking tape, the inlets to the block here. I drained all the coolant because you see the radiator's missing. That bolt was at the bottom of the plastic here, just did not want to come out, so I actually got to cover these inlets up here. Pull the reservoir tank off. One of the lines was just dangling there, so I had no idea where it went. Remove the radiator fan. Tank is off, obviously. It's over there on the ground. Removed the throttle tube that I had. I got another OEM Kawasaki grip. coming in that looks like the ones on Jimmy's bike over here. So it's gonna look exactly like this. But I wanna see if I could take the throttle tube, which is over here on the ground, this throttle tube, and I wanna see if I can modify it and just grind down these tabs on the end here to see if I could take the one that's here and try to slide that too, because you can see it'll fit. And it seems like this will fit in here once you grind those edges off. You see the edges just kind of sticking out a little bit. So once I grind those edges down with the, a Dremel or a grinder, this hopefully will slide in there with some, persuasion. And maybe I can end up using this instead of the one I just bought, but we'll see. You can see it stops right at the exact same point where it needs to, which is great. So there's that. Jimmy's bike's still looking classy as ever. Hopefully mine's gonna run just as good. I actually bought this bike as a project bike. I knew that going into it. The owner said it ran last fall, but judging how I'm looking at this engine, I don't think it ran last fall, and if it did, it just ran like shit, because I have no idea how the block is gonna be until I get into it. So that's gonna be another day. Managed to clean up, blow out all the grime and grit inside of here. So we cleaned this up really nice, covered that hole. Starter is coming in, so I'm gonna get a new starter for it, new starter solenoid for it. So this is all gonna come out. I'm gonna take this cap off maybe, because I wanna see if I can clean the cyclist. As you can see, you can't see jack diddly squat through it. I'm gonna try to pull this casing off. I'm gonna buy a gasket for this so I can pull this off, clean this up hopefully. I might buy a new sight glass if possible. I think it's like from Babbitt's Kawasaki, I think it's like 10 bucks for this glass and 20 bucks for the gasket. So I'm gonna buy that, try to replace that. I still gotta get the clutch cable off. Unfortunately, what sucks is I went to go take this, the hand grip off on the left side here. This screw came out. This screw did not want to, you can see it's stripping. So I didn't want to keep messing with it, so I left it alone. There's nothing wrong with this. I just wanted to oil the clutch cable because, I mean, obviously right now it's not connected to the carburetor, but when it was connected to the carburetor and I went to pull on this lever, it was really stiff, so I wanted to take that off of there. And then the only other thing I think I'm going to do tonight, and then I'm going to go home, is I'm going to take this, try to get this clutch cable out of this here so I can lube this up as well. I already removed the throttle cable. As you can see, they're both missing. All the parts are actually over here on the workbench. So here's the radiator. Here's the bolt, is right down here. That's the bolt right here. You see how we're trying to drill it out because this like locking part here just did not want to fucking spin, and obviously you could see it was bending the tab. That's bare steel under there, so I didn't want to bend it and break it, so I just left it alone. I'm gonna see if I can conquer that. Talk to my other mechanic tomorrow that's here at the shop. See if we can get that going. But this is off. Batteries out, radiator fans out, license plate bracket. Those two air pods I'm going to clean up a bit. These are these brackets, the carburetors. Coolant tank I got to clean out because it's all dirty and grimy. Oil filter. And here's the side covers, 1 and 2. And then these are the throttle cables right here. So, yeah, we're making progress. Not going to be as fast as the first 454 we worked on. Unfortunately, just due to the fact that there's just a lot more shit, and you're looking at a bike with 2,800 miles, and then this bike here has got 32,000 miles on it. So pretty much going to do, it's looking like an entire rebuild almost, minus like, I mean, because I got to rip the top half of the block off to get to the head gasket, which is going to be hopefully located somewhere around this area right in here, because this has got to come off. It was leaking on the other side right here. This antifreeze was coming out right here, so there's a hole in the block. There's a hole in the block on this side and on the other side. I have no idea what they're for. So that's kind of a question mystery to me for that, unless that's just the way they were machined like that. But yeah, everything else seems to be okay so far. I mean, I oiled up the brake lever a little bit down here, the shifter, the foot pegs were stuck. I oiled them up, so now they flip out nice and easy. These flip out nice and easy. Probably gonna check the rotor, the front pads on the rotor there. Also, I don't know how the drum brake is. I'll have a better assessment once I start riding the motorcycle and I figure out, like, with the brakes, how well they respond. If they respond decent enough, I might not have to change them. I think that one we have to change the front pads though, because I think the pads are just uneven wore or something, because they don't seem to be stopping like they're supposed to. But I did have to change the brake fluid out, so that might be a problem too. It might just have an air bubble in the line or something. But there's a lot more parts on this bike that are just worn or missing, and that bike's more complete. But again, you're looking at 30,000 miles difference on the road. So there's that. Also, I want to take the clutch cable off and then pop the horn out. I forgot I got to pop this horn off because there's a loose electrical connection in here somewhere. And so the horn works, but I have to hit the button, hold it, and slap it in order for it to turn on. So I'm thinking it's just loose wiring in there or something I got to fix. But yeah, all right, so that's day one. And we'll be back in a second for when we continue onward. See you guys in a minute.